Gabriel Batista, the textbook finisher whose goals made us dream. Sometimes, watching football leaves an indelible mark on a young boy's imagination. In 1999, I was 7 years old and my obsession with Manchester United was reaching new heights after watching them win the Champions League in the most dramatic of circumstances. That night, when I should have been readying myself for school the following morning, I descended on my front garden and reenacted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's famous last gasp strike with my trusty miter ball and a set of nets that were horribly mangled from sustaining shot after shot from my uneducated right foot. In similar vein, what I witnessed a little less than a year later in March 2000 roused that same self-belief that I could recreate another display of a footballing masterclass. Gabriel Batista, center stage in the theater of dreams. I knew nothing of this player as I had zero exposure to Italian football at that formative stage in my life. The Argentine goal machine picks up the ball well over 30 yards out, no danger one would presume. Not with Batista on the ball. The hair-banded predator effortlessly eludes the challenge of Job Stam, who was far from Titus Bramble back then, before unleashing the most jaw-dropping missile of a shot I had ever witnessed, screeching through the air and fizzing past the helpless Raymond van der Gt. Old Trafford was silenced by a rocket. I was staggered by this extraordinary goal. I had never seen a professional footballer rip into a piece of leather quite like the way Batista did that night. The power and precision he generated was unprecedented in my eyes. Unsurprisingly, I had become comfortably accustomed to David Beckham's faultless foot-wrapping free-kick strikes. Granted, Beckham's portfolio of set-piece goals is a thing of beauty, but there was just something about the way the ball was dispatched from Batista's boot that got to me. I proceeded to set 3 footballs side by side in my front garden and batter them with all my might in the hope that I would look up and see the ball scream into the roof of the net in a fashion not dissimilar to the Argentines. What resulted was a few angry neighbors and appallingly dented garage door. What a fool I was to believe that I could emulate the brilliance of Batista. Through his exploits at Newell's Old Boys, Boca Juniors, Fiorentina and then Roma, Batista had developed the most insatiable appetite for goals imaginable, and his education at those clubs cultivated a technique of striking the football so efficient in appeasing that appetite. Batista's footballing odyssey began in Rosario, Argentina's third city, with Newell's. Batista had been spotted by Jorge Griffa, Newell's youth team manager at that time, who persuaded the young protégé to leave home for the first time in his life and pursue a career in professional football. Batista was initially apprehensive due to his commitment to family and education, but agreed after the club agreed to pay for his education in Rosario. The youngster impressed instantly in one of Argentina's finest youth academies and soon broke into the first team, where he made his debut in 1988 and played in the Copa Libertadores final. Batista's proficiency inside the penalty box struck fear into Newell's rivals. He became known as the Animal due to his strength and tenacity in breaking free from defenders, finding space and dispatching goals in clinical style. Newell's supporters adored his hard work and determination. Fans of football always love a fighter, a player with great heart, and Batista fit the bill perfectly in these regards. His education finished and he struggled to find work, so in order to continue playing for Newell's, Batista cut the grass on the pitch, cleaned windows and picked up rubbish in the stands for enough to get by. Money did not matter to him. He was prepared to earn just about enough so he could continue playing football. With his stock rising rapidly, Batista made the difficult decision to move to River Plate. What made it difficult was the fact that he was a lifelong supporter of Plate's arch-nemesis, Boca Juniors. What Battista wanted more than anything though was to score goals, and he saw River as the best place for him to achieve that. However, Daniel Passarella, the heroic captain of Argentina's 1978 World Cup winning team, did not see great potential in Battista and opted to omit him from regular first-team football. Battista, hurt and surprised, did not let this deter him. He harnessed the pain from watching on as his River colleagues played without him and used it to make him mentally tougher. He began to train harder, focus on his strengths and hone his skills to become the ultimate goal scorer. The results very much speak for themselves. Having grown weary of Passarella's ignorance at play, Battista crossed town to his boyhood idol's Boca. He was initially played out of position by Osvaldo Potetti, but Oscar Tavares arrived to replace him and immediately recognized Battista as the ultimate focal point of attack. He moved him to center forward and Battista repaid the favor with goals aplenty. He enraptured the vociferous Boca fans and forged a wonderfully productive partnership with Boca's chief conductor, Diego Latorre. Battista holds his time with Boca close to his heart. He genuinely connected with the fans. For him, that was what professional football was all about, exciting fans, feeling adored and being part of a team that would be remembered in years to come. Major honors and trophies proved hard to come by in Buenos Aires. It would become a recurring motif of his storied career, but Battista was fulfilled by the sense that his play excited the fans regardless of where they finished. It was the eye-catching displays at Boca that got Europe talking. Tavares became increasingly aware of the European clubs circling Battista and was re-signed to losing his most lethal weapon. Battista was eager for a fresh challenge and an opportunity to introduce the world to the phenomenon of batigol. Providing potential suitors with an unforgettable audition during the 1991 Copa America for Argentina, when he finished as the tournament's top scorer with 6 strikes. His goals and performances prompted Fiorentina to move for him, and the rest is history. That year, fans in Florence fell in love with Battista and adores him to this day. Battista determinedly overcame the difficulty in adapting to a different culture and style of football in Italy, and began showing teams in Serie A why Fiorentina placed their belief in him. He scored 14 goals in his first season and 19 the following campaign. However, his second year was overshadowed by troubles at La Viola and they were relegated to Serie B. The fans at the Artemisia Franchi Stadium panicked at the thought of losing their star player and favorite son. They had adopted Battista as one of their own and feared that the advances of European superpowers AC Milan and Real Madrid would prove irresistible to him. He was having none of it. Battista, characteristically disregarding the allure of money and prestige attached to a move to a major club, decided to stay in Florence and help his adopted club fight back to Serie A. His 16 goals in Serie B helped Fiorentina back to the high table in Italian football and endeared the Argentine even deeper into the hearts of the fans. In modern football, it is too easy for a talented player standing out in a struggling team to flee when trouble strikes, but not for Battista. He has since said that he could have easily moved to Real Madrid or Manchester United, but he never had any interest in leaving Fiorentina for either of them. For him, the challenge of improving and underachieving Fiorentina was more attractive than jumping on the express train of one of Europe's big clubs collecting trophies effortlessly. This was the truest expression of Battista's approach to football. He was always willing to fight, always willing to work hard to earn a reputation and relationship with the fans. He went on to cement his place as arguably Fiorentina's greatest ever player, certainly their greatest goal scorer. He amassed over 200 goals during his 9 years clad in purple before finally ending his adventure with Fiorentina in favor of a fresh challenge in another hallowed Italian city. In the capital with Roma, Battista finally won the Scudetto that had eluded him and forged a devastating partnership with club legend Francesco Totti. Becoming a champion of Italy with Roma was a historic moment for both the club and the player. Roma had finally returned to the top after an 18-year barren spell, and Battista was able to call himself a champion. He knew that although he had left Fiorentina and won the trophy they could never manage with Roma, he was still adored by the Florence faithful. There were no cries of Judas and no vendetta. Fiorentina knew they had kept the player as long as they could, and they were forever grateful for his service, regardless of what he did following his departure. Perhaps the saddest mark on an illustrious time in football for Battista is the World Cup. He represented his country at 3 finals and played well in all of them. He remains to this day the only player to score a hat-trick in 2 different World Cups, a beautiful distinction to have. Goals and recognition were juxtaposed with a narrative of heartache for Battista in the World Cup, though, as Argentina never came close to winning it during his time in the squad. In 1994, Battista and Argentina started their campaign brilliantly with the 4-0 destruction of Greece. Battista claimed a hat-trick in his first ever World Cup match, but that elation quickly faded with the events that followed. Argentina's '94 journey will forever be remembered for Diego Maradona's expulsion from the tournament after testing positive for ephedrine. In the aftermath of that shattering story, Argentina failed to carry on without him and were eliminated at the hands of Romania. Battista refused to use Maradona's discrepancy as an excuse for their poor performance and was determined to make up for it in his next World Cup. It wasn't to be, however, for one of Argentina's most gifted marksmen, as they were bettered by a memorable Dennis Bergkamp strike in the quarter-finals in France 1998, and Battista was again left in dismay. Things got even worse in Battista's swan song in 2002 as they were beaten by England and failed to see off Sweden as they tumbled out of Korea and Japan in the group stage. At the end of the Sweden match, Battista broke down in tears. He knew he would never play in the World Cup again. Players often cry when they are sent packing from the World Cup, but I remember feeling the pain of Battista, having become a fond admirer of him since that wonder goal at Old Trafford. Here was a man whose passion and emotion poured out of him relentlessly. I can't help at this moment feel as if Battista didn't get back from the game what he gave. He always exuded the fervor that every top-flight professional footballer should. In his later years, Battista wound down his career in Qatar, scoring goals for fun in a lesser league. After an ill-fated spell with Internazionale, he knew his time at the highest level had come to an end. His move to Qatar was not just motivated by money, though. Battista was always acutely aware of his limitations, and he felt it necessary to bow out gracefully from Italian football and introduce his family to a different culture. Revelations about his plea to doctors to amputate his legs suggest that Battista played through the pain barrier for much of his career, but I thank him sincerely for doing so, for the memories he bestowed upon me and for staying a truly respectable footballer for his entire career.